invest in and we partner with local agricultural businesses that put small-scale farmers on a path to prosperity, transforming families and communities and economies. And specifically, we're focusing on farmer cooperatives like the one I mentioned, and processors and millers that buy and aggregate the crops of thousands of farmers. And so they purchase, could be coffee, cocoa, tree nuts, grains, other crops. And these businesses are the lifeblood of rural communities in sub-Saharan Africa and in Latin America and in Southeast Asia, specifically Indonesia, all places where we work. And so each of them can access thousands of farmers connecting to markets where their crops fetch a better price, like a company like Forest Trade, and they improve farming practices by providing inputs and training and resources to those small-scale producers. So at Root, we provide credit and capacity building and better access to markets so those businesses can succeed and so they can grow. And so to your question regarding how do we go about locating enterprises to fund early on, I touched upon that a bit in describing how we're triangulating loans, where we lend to the cooperative, then months later after they've purchased and bulked and sorted and shipped and sent their product abroad, for instance, we get paid back by that importer. So I highlight that because the receivables financing, where we're lending against a purchase order, in effect, bankable cash flow, right, in the absence of hard assets that, say, the commercial bank would normally require. That financing mechanism is very closely linked to how we went about locating agricultural enterprises to partner with early on. So initially, it was literally going to their buyers, like Forest Trade in Brattleboro, Vermont, to the industry, and then tracing from that demand for those products back to supply. And so we positioned ourselves as a partner to the industry from the get-go. So whether it's buying cocoa or coffee or quinoa or macadamia or cashew, we were willing to finance and strengthen their otherwise unbankable suppliers in tropical forest regions around the world. And geographically speaking, we started in Central America and Mexico, where I'd spent a lot of time. And then we moved, we made adjacent moves geographically, first into South America. So Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, before it got difficult for us to work in Ecuador and Bolivia because of leftist governments there. And then we hopped the pond, 2005, 2006, to sub-Saharan Africa, and then ultimately to Indonesia. But I'd highlight that all the while, to your question, we focused on agribusinesses that buy directly from hundreds of thousands of farmers, that are providing those inputs to the farmers, but we were following, in effect, the supply chain footprint of our corporate partners. So we could leverage those global value chains from the demand and the purchase orders to a whole ecosystem, actually, of related actors that kind of whirl around those value chains, so like third-party certifiers, think organic and fair trade and Rainforest Alliance and other technical assistance providers. All of that allowed us to, in a very efficient way, actually, to identify and assess the right kinds of opportunities for lending and for technical assistance, and to, in effect, to de-risk the businesses that we were serving. So just maybe lastly to say, my colleagues and I spent a lot of time, for instance, with Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, which is now known as Keurig Dr. Pepper. And so we're driving up and down the New England corridor to Vermont. And before we knew it, we wound up financing the vast majority of fair trade organic coffee suppliers that they had. And we remain like real partners with Keurig Dr. Pepper. It's really one of our most important allies, both in terms of their global value chain, but also they're now a significant donor to us as well.